Hello and welcome back. I'm Mr. Luis, and in today's psychology class, we're diving into a curious question. What does doodling do to our attention and memory? This is based on a core study by Jackie Andrade, 2010, a great example of cognitive psychology in action. So grab a pencil and don't worry if you start doodling while watching. We've all been there. You're sitting through a dull lecture or zoning out on a boring phone call, and next thing you know, you've filled the page with doodles, boxes, spirals, or an oddly intense stick figure. That's doodling, and it's usually seen as a sign that someone's not paying attention. But Andrade challenged that idea. She asked, what if doodling isn't a distraction? What if instead of hurting memory and focus, it actually helps? Her study explored whether doodling helps us stay focused by stopping our minds from drifting off into daydreams, keeping us just stimulated enough to process information better. Andrade aimed to find out if doodling could actually help people concentrate on auditory information. In other words, does shading in shapes while listening help you remember more than just sitting still? This was a lab experiment with an independent measures design. Andrade recruited 40 participants between 18 and 55 years old through a panel at the UK Medical Research Council, and they were paid for their time. Participants were randomly assigned to either the doodling group or the control group. Everyone listened to a 2.5-minute mock phone message about a party spoken in a flat, monotone voice designed to bore. The speaker listed names of people who were attending, along with some irrelevant places. Their main task was to note the names of people attending, but secretly, Andrade planned a surprise. After the recording, participants would also be asked to recall the places that were mentioned. The doodling group received a sheet with shapes to shade in while listening, while the control group got lined paper with no instructions. Both groups were told only to jot down the names, so they wouldn't try too hard to remember everything. That clever setup helped prevent demand characteristics. While the recording played, doodlers were casually instructed to shade the shapes however they liked. It didn't have to be neat, just something to relieve boredom. The control group wasn't told anything about doodling. Afterward, participants took 2 memory tests, one for names of party attendees, monitored information, one for the places mentioned, incidental information. To avoid order effects, Andrade counterbalanced the recall order between participants. Did doodling make a difference? Oh yes, here's the data. Control group remembered an average of 5.8 items. Doodling group remembered 7.9 items. That's about 29% more recalled by doodlers. Even when false alarms, incorrect responses, were taken into account, the doodling group outperformed the control group. So what's the takeaway? Doodling, it seems, actually helps concentration. Andrade suggested 2 reasons. It keeps you from daydreaming by occupying your brain just enough to stay alert. It enhances information processing, helping you encode more into memory. However, since the study didn't measure whether people were daydreaming or not, we can't say for sure which explanation is correct. This study has real-life application. If doodling improves memory, it might be useful during meetings, lectures, or even phone calls. As for validity, Andrade excluded participants who suspected there would be a memory test, which helps reduce demand characteristics. Strengths: the lab setting allowed for high control of variables with consistent timing, materials, and instructions. The study used objective, quantifiable data, number of correct names and places, which increases reliability. But let's not forget the weaknesses. The artificial task of listening to a boring message in a lab lacks ecological validity. It's not quite like real-world multitasking. Also, people doodle in different ways, and that wasn't fully accounted for. There was a mild ethical concern. Participants didn't give full informed consent because they weren't told about the surprise memory test. However, Andrade fully debriefed them afterward. So next time someone tells you to stop doodling and pay attention, you can say, actually, I'm improving my memory. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next lesson.